Hey heathens, it's Gun Deity, and this week we have the Glock 17 Gen 6. This is the newest offering from Glock. It is a really neat pistol here, and definitely has some big upgrades in comparison to the original Gen 5. I say original, but you know what I mean, Gen 5. Let's go ahead and go on the details. We'll start at the nose and work our way to the rear and see what you guys think. So starting up front, of course, we have front and rear cocking serrations. What's really neat about these cocking serrations is they are a little bit deeper than the original Gen 5s. Let's compare it to the original Gen 5s. See how the serrations on the Gen 6 are much deeper? It allows you to get a good grip on that guy, no matter what the weather conditions are or how firm you can grip your hands. Working our way across, we do have the normal Glock, I guess they call it their competition barrel or whatever, competitive barrel. I'm not sure what they call it, but it's the barrel that they started using for the Gen 5. We'll get into the details of the innards here in a moment, but it does have a single captured guide rod. That is something to point out. We'll get into that in a minute, though. Of course, you got the single slot Picatinny round. You have more of a Glock 45 sized frame. So if you noticed, the dust cover does not quite go all the way across to the front of the barrel like the normal 17 does. This is more like that Glock 47, where you could swap out the slides for the smaller 19 slides, which makes it to where it's a little bit more modular, which is perfect. Now going across the frame here, we have a gas pedal built in. This is actually a little shelf there where you can put your thumb on and push down, or you have a memory slot for your indexing point, which is a very nice setup there. It's definitely something that a lot of people do to their Glocks. That's something that I've done to my Gen 5, and it's very common to see little gas pedals. And they have the grip texture in there. We're going to get into that grip texture here in just a moment. We're getting our way down. You'll notice that the trigger is different than the Gen 5s or even all the other previous generations of Glocks. This is a flat face trigger. Let's go ahead and check out that trigger real quick. Of course, she is empty. We got a little bit of take up to get to a wall and then a clean break. Let's go ahead and see that reset. A little long, but it forces your reset out. You're right back on that wall, and then a clean break. It's actually not a bad trigger. It might be slightly better than the Gen 5s. I know that they said that this is the performance trigger, so it's probably a little bit better than the Gen 5's trigger, tell you the truth. Now, working our way back up to the slide, we have a modular optics system. Let's go ahead and dig into that modular optics system. All right, so the cool thing about the modular optics system is in previous models of the MOS, it was a full plate system that would rise the optic way up here and then make the optic sit way too high, right? Well, with this one, they kind of took a play out of those pin systems that like the Echelon and the RXM are running. Granted, they didn't go pin system, but what they did do is they made a channel set inside the slide for these actual plates, and they just kind of ride in there, locks them in place, and now you have more of a flush fit optics mounting system, so you can keep your optic nice and low and it won't get in the way, or it won't rise so high that it's just absurd, right? It's a really neat system. Kind of actually, honestly, it's probably a little bit better than the pin set because it actually does lock that plate really firm in there. Now, I haven't personally had any issues with my pin sets in my Echelon or my RXM, but it is kind of neat that Glock kind of did do a little play onto that. Now, that being said, even though the optic is lower, these are not co-witnessable sights unless you're running like a really, really thin optic. So you're probably still going to have to upgrade these sights if you want to run an optic and co-witness it. Moving back on down to the frame here, we have a really large beaver tail here. This allows you to get really high on the gun to avoid getting that slide bite there. You can get really high on this gun, and you can keep that bore axis very low. Moving on down, we have this beautiful grip texture. This is a mix of the RTF2, the Rough Textured Finish 2, and the Gen 5 grip texture. As you could kind of see, there is similarities, but you'll notice that there's a little bit more detail on the inside here. It kind of is like a micro texture on the inside there that allows your hand to get a very nice grip, and it feels really comfortable in the hand. That being said, they did continue it all the way up the side of the frame, and it wraps completely around the gun comparative to their previous models. It wraps completely around. Now, this does come with a back strap in the box. The back straps actually go over the back panel here, and it slides on and you just strap them in. It's very simplistic if you want a larger grip. Now, down here we do have a flared magwell. It is actually a really nice flared magwell, and let's see if I can get it in the light there. It's hard to get in this light, but it is a nice little flared magwell, just big enough to funnel mags in. Not super large, so if you're looking for a competition gun, you're definitely going to have to upgrade this to a larger flared magwell, but for duty use, perfect use for that. Now, one thing I didn't touch on into the grips is the little bit of a palm swell you get now. So if you notice, there's a lot more contours to the slide now than there used to be in the Gen 5. There's a little bit more of a swell here, and there's a deep in-cut right here. Comparative to the Gen 5, you do have that little bit of an indent, but it's just flat on the sides. Kind of gives this more of a round feel, kind of more natural feeling to your hand in comparison to the Glock, where it's very blocky. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out is the internals. Let's go ahead and jump into the internals and see what's different on the inside there. All right, so we have the Gen 5 here and the Gen 6 here. We're going to go over the internals and see what's different here. So starting first, we're going to go with the slides. Of course, the first thing you notice is the guide rod. This is a dual captured guide rod. They've been running it since, Gen 4, the dual captured guide rod. And this is a single capture guide rod. So they kind of went back to that Gen 3 single capture guide rod. It is a polymer guide rod with a single spring. I think that's a downgrade personally. I think that dual capture guide rod helps eat up recoil a little bit, helps with reliable feeding, but Glock knows a lot more about engineering than I do, so maybe they are onto something. And, a lot of guns only use a single capture guide rod, so is it a big deal? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I run a Gen 3 as well, and I've never had an issue, so probably not an issue. Comparative to the Gen 5. And so in that aspect, you cannot swap the slides out because of the different guide rods. They'll get hung up in the slide. Now, moving on down the slide, you'll notice that there's a lot more going on internally on the new Gen 6 than the Gen 5. It's taking after the V series with the little blocks to block the switches, things like that, the little ramps there, and the smaller striker, which, if you've watched Honest Outlaws video, he dogs on that smaller striker. He says that it causes reliability issues, light strikes, things like that. I personally have not shot the V or the Gen 6, so I can't tell you one way or the other, but I can see how maybe changing up their striker could cause issues. So definitely interesting that they went with this pattern. Yet again, it points out to the fact that why in the world was the V ever introduced? Because 3 weeks later, they introduced the Gen 6, and it has all the features that the V has, and a lot more. So why even introduce the V? That's my question. But there's a couple, like I said, a couple internal changes there. Now, let's go look at the slides, or the frames. Let's see if there's any differences there. Internally, they look exactly the same. You're even using the same model number parts. The 3970 for the trigger bar assembly. We have, what is that? 47021 for the ejector. It's pretty much using the exact same internals. I don't see anything different per se besides, yeah, nothing different per se that I could see. Like, they look very much the same. There's might be some slight changes to the Gen 6 right here. You got a little channel cut. That's probably for the channel cuts in the slide. And the grooves in the slide, and then this little piece in the back here. I'm not sure what they call that, but that little piece right there is a little different there. It's probably mainly for the slide differences. But other than that, the frame is pretty much a Gen 5 with some upgrades. So definitely a neat little addition to it. But guys, that's my quick overview of the new Gen 6. It's a really neat option from Glock. It does look really good. It feels really good in the hand, and it probably shoots really well. It is a Glock at the end of the day. My question to you is, even though this is about $60, $70-ish more than the Gen 5, would you purchase this over the Gen 5? Let me know in the comment section. I know that the sources of new Gen 5s are drying up, so pretty soon you won't have an option. But right now, as the option's still available, would you buy this over the Gen 5? Does it concern you about that striker being skinnier and people like Honest Outlaw having issues with the Gen V? Or are the upgrades on this guy worth the possibility that there's an issue with that striker? Or let me know in the comment section if you shot the Gen V, if you've even had any issues like Honest Outlaw had. My opinion is it is a Glock. It's going to run probably just fine for most case scenarios. Now, is it going to be as durable as the originals? That's the question we're all wondering. So once it's been out for a minute, maybe someone's going to do some crazy torture tests with this, maybe a couple thousand round counts, things like that, and maybe we'll see how the reliability runs on this guy. But this is my quick overview on the Glock 17 Gen 6. I think it's a really neat option from Glock. I wish they would have done a couple different things, like a fire control group instead of a serialized frame, but you know, there's pluses and minuses to that, so it is what it is. But this is really cool that they did go modular optic, they did go that flat face trigger, and they did a much better ergonomics and grip texture to their frame. I wish they would have went metal sights. That would have been nice. Maybe even suppressor height sights. That would have also been nice. But beggars can't be choosers. Maybe Gen 7 will get some of those upgrades. But this is my quick overview. Let me know what you guys think. Like the video if you like the new Gen 6, if you would purchase one. Comment in the comment section what you guys think. The Gen 6, is it better than the Gen 5? Is the V even in the table at this point? Even on the table? And let me know what you guys think overall. I want to hear it here in the comment section what you guys think. And as always, guys, I'm Gandidi, and I'll see you heathens for the next one.
I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation. They call me a